Well, everyone, thank you so much for coming back. We've had a couple of weeks since we've seen you. We are excited to near our completion. We've got tonight, and we have one more meeting scheduled. We'll talk as we get further down the road what that last meeting will look like. Ken and I do a lot of reflection. We talk all the time about what can we do better, what didn't work. A lot of our challenges are the Zoom, and we do appreciate your patience with us. So we're going to keep moving tonight. Ken's going to facilitate more because we're going to move a little faster. That doesn't mean that you won't have input. We absolutely want your input. Don't forget questions. If you will send them to us by chat, Mike and his staff are doing a fabulous job getting the questions to you. Anything that you have, you'll get the answers. So what are we doing tonight? We're going to continue our process. We're going to and then at the end of the evening, discuss next steps. As a reminder, we got through our 2 categories 2 weeks ago with about 4 or 5 items tabled. So we will have to go back and look at those in a moment. We're going to start with category 3. We'll just start with where we left off. It'll be the same type of process. We'll have some time to discuss. Then we'll poll the committee. Our goal is 75%. So, Ken, what have I left out? I feel like I went through that pretty quick.
Well, I wanted to address the 75% because there was a question on that.
Yeah.
And, you know, what Sherry and I had used that before, and honestly, we can't figure out why did we go to 80%. But we made a judgment call that, hey, why don't we poll the committee and see which ones were appropriate, right or wrong? That's what we did. And the committee agreed on, or at least a majority agreed on, that would be a good standard. So that's what we're going to use. To talk about the process tonight. Now, let me put a little pressure on us. We've only got 2 meetings left this week and next week because we're starting a high school, the Randall High School Wright Junior High rezoning the week after. But I don't see any problem. I think one of the things that we're going to do is, so I'll talk about the process and outcomes tonight. I feel like we're going to get 80 to 90% done tonight. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to go through each of the 6 remaining categories fairly quickly. What I want you to do is focus on once we pull up, like, for example, the external improvements. We'll give 5 minutes on this part, because remember, this is just the initial round, and your decision is, yeah, you feel like it needs to be included, or you feel like it needs to be tabled for further discussion. We're going to give 5 minutes for anyone to ask a clarifying question. And a clarifying question just be if you didn't understand any component of it. We've seen it for weeks, so there shouldn't be a lot of that. And then when we get into the value discussions, it'll come back around when we look at table items. So we're going to be doing a lot of polls. I'm going to repeat again kind of the way the polls work. You'll get a poll, and I've verified, yes, committee members are the ones that are voting, and none of the staff has been doing any of the voting, which I suspected the staff wouldn't have any interest in doing that anyway. But just for transparency, I wanted to check to make sure, and I have been able to do that. Our committee is what it is. Hopefully we'll have more participation from committee. I know the numbers are going to be a little different because I happen to know the entire facilities staff is in one room versus being in a lot of different places. So that reduces the overall number quite a bit for that. So with that, we're going to jump right into, Sherry, go ahead and bring up.
Okay, I'm going to do a new share here.
Yeah.
We're going to go here.
And for those of you that may not have been here last week, we are using the polling feature in Zoom. You'll get a notice that a poll is open when I say I'm launching it. You'll be given a few minutes, and it's done for the whole category, and you'll have 2 choices. The 2 choices will be either yes, you think it should be included in the recommendation, or table it because you just are not sure yet, you don't think it should be, or whatever reason. The survey itself, and I want to just address that just a little bit. The survey, because some didn't feel like the survey was an accurate representation of what we should be looking for, and I appreciate your feedback on that. But and we'll probably make some revisions in the future. But that's what we use. But it was only a guide, not necessarily meant to be the deciding factor at all. Just one of the tools that was available to us. So I'm going to run through this real quick. We got the first item is exterior improvements, which is the list from the district. That's from the needs assessment. Then there was an access to Huggins Elementary portable buildings at about $25,000. The notes are safety concern for kids. Anyway, you've got that data on that. And then the next one was a fence around the playground and pickup area at Ray Elementary, pickup line and parking at Huggins, pickup line at Frost, extending sidewalk around Frost, and resurfacing the walking track. All of those things were included in the exterior improvements. So with that, and I'm going to have Sherry keep time, do you have any just clarifying questions before we do a poll on where we are with this?
This is LJ Edenmeyer. I have a clarifying about fencing. There had been discussion at one point that there was actually consideration of fencing around all of the LCISD facilities. Is that something that is somewhere else in this, or is this the only in this entire bond, or is this the only fencing allotment anywhere in the bond?
Facilities folks, can you chime in on that?
What we did, where we identified a need for fencing or gates anywhere in the district, we rolled that money, those funds that were identified into the 3.4 million for the safety and security. So rather than doing it item by item, we put it in as a group with safety and security. So they are being addressed.
So this fencing here is separate from that?
This was, remember, some of these are items that were
Got you. Thank you.
That were posted by committee members.
Got you.
So,
thank you, sir.
Yeah.
You got it.
Makes sense.
So you're saying that this fencing at Huggins should be taken out then, because it's already safety security.
We have a line item of safety and security that addresses the needs of fencing throughout the district. That does not mean every facility in the district is fenced. It means that the areas that were addressed that were in need of fencing, those items are rolled into the safety and security line item.
Were Huggins and Frost in that list?
I think the clarification that people are looking for is, if Huggins is already part of that, then do we need to take it out? If Huggins is not, then we need to leave it in for consideration, correct?
That's correct. Yes.
So do we know the answer?
I'll tell you what, why don't I suggest on that one, obviously there's some question on that. Let's table it so we can move forward. Of course, it's your choice to do that on the poll, and we'll give staff time to come back with an answer on that. Any other clarifying questions?
Yes, to that point associated with it, for the fence brings up an interesting topic. How many other new topics are considered counted twice within this? Either line items and or budgeted forecasted costs.
Well, for example, I guess, for example, the access at Huggins for the, what's the next one?
I think last meeting was the entrance and security improvements for Huggins or a different school associated with it, but they were also captured previously in the recommendation, the walk downs with the facilities people.
For the vestibules, you're referencing the vestibules?
I believe so. I think that was one that was identified in 2 locations last time. And
That was in the internals, right?
Yes, internals.
Okay, let's wait till we come back around to that, because I know that's on.
And there's also staff notes, Ken, on our original sheet.
Yeah.
I'm trying to look up to see what you guys said about
Folks,
the fencing.
I'm really going to have to try
I'm not trying to bring up a new topic. I'm trying to bring a topic that we discussed. I'm trying to ask the question from staff, because it just got brought up about fences, that it's in here twice, that it's not double dipped, and it needs to be addressed twice. To see if we can look at making sure we're not actually having to account for two separate things twice.
Let me ask.
in a line item.
Staff, are you aware of anything in the external improvements that has been addressed already?
My thought would be what we can do is if the committee is in favor of a certain item, for example, fencing at Huggins, if the committee says that that's something that they want to move forward on, and we go back and look and see that it was already addressed in the 3.4, it wouldn't be double funded, and we know that that item was already taken care of.
Okay, it's fair enough.
Does that make sense?
Yes, fair enough.
Okay, good deal.
All right, we are going to move forward with a poll, and what the poll will be, well, all 7 items will be on here, and you will simply say yes or table. So here we go. We're launching the poll now. And Sherry, if you will, keep tabs for me.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
I'm ready.
Yeah, yeah.
Will you have to share your screen, Ken, to show the results?
No, everyone will be able to see the,
Okay.
when I say in poll and share
In poll,
results,
okay.
everybody be able to see it.
Ken, I have one question, Dave Vercheck. On the district facility, does that include the work on the administration building in 2017? There was a significant amount of money to strip off the brick and seal and re-insulate and replace the brick. And I don't see that that's been done. And so is that
would you post that as a chat question, Dave,
okay?
and let the staff work on that? We'll give about 30 more seconds. And if you're interested, we have relatively the same number of community members or committee members. We're at 35.
We were last week.
Yeah, I've done this for years, and it just kind of always seems that way. You have a certain group that will always be there.
Thank you. Certain group.
Yeah. But again, it is what we've got, so that's what we're going to go with. So, okay. We'll end the poll. When I end the poll, for those of you who weren't, you'll be able to see the results immediately and share report it. On item 1, 83% feel like it should be included. Item 2, 74, very close on our tail end. But again, we're going to revisit, so that's okay. Additional fencing, 66, 43, and 40%, and then 57. So we will include the district facility updates and renovations, and then the other ones will be tabled. So good. We've got through that first one. Again, we'll come back around.
Let me get these written down real quick.
Okay.
Ken. I'm sorry.
And just in case, I also download the results as well, so I can double check it. But obviously not at this moment. Okay.
Okay.
Stop sharing and close the poll. Let's move on to the next one, Sherry.
Okay. The
Technology.
next one.
Yeah,
Right on.
technology, there's only two items.
Back up a sec. I have a question. So the number one that we just voted on, is that the entire list of all of the exterior items for the district?
That is
what that
recommended
means?
by the district needs assessment.
Okay, so I have on 3 line items, I have specific questions for those. I have a question about Foster High School and George Junior High and Travis Elementary.
If you would, post those questions or send them to staff.
Okay.
Thank you.
We'll get them answered.
All right. Technology, 2 items. First one is the district. Again, you have to refer back to the district list of upgrades and all of that that involved in that. And then second one really was, there were several questions about providing I'm just going to say in general, providing one-to-one access. And just as an FYI, when I do the total numbers, there was a range of cost possibilities of that one, anywhere from like 9 to 15 million, depending on iPads or whatever. So I just kind of picked an average and put that number down. So from a standpoint of dollars, I put that down, but you need to understand that's not necessarily accurate. It's just to have a number. So we'll have some totals to look at. So clarifying questions on the technology category.
Hey, Ken, this is Hope. I have a question about the laptops and the iPads. What's the current ratio now to students? How is it determined which students are issued the laptops or
Staff?
iPads? Is this for staff or this is for the students, the second one?
The
Yes.
second one would be students, but staff, can you
Can
address?
you help us?
Hi, this is David Jacobson. I'm the Chief Technology Information Officer. So, Ms. Martin, if I understand your question correctly, we're not a one-to-one district. So we're not issuing laptops to all students. We call it one-to-need, and we're also a bring your own technology district. So students who need technology in the classrooms, we have iPads and laptops available to meet the needs of every student when they're on campus. We do not regularly or check out laptops or iPads to all students to take home, although that is available from their campus if need be.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Is that for to be checked out to pre-AP and AP students only, or is that for general students?
We have a special program at 2 of the high schools, and academics can speak a little bit more to that program than I can, but we do have a program at 2 high schools that is specifically targeted to AP students. And those laptops are separate from the general supply that might be checked out to any student on a campus.
Okay, thank you.
So Ken, I'm confused. This is Dave Burshak. I'm going to hold this up. This is what I printed, and it has $63.5 million, and it's got probably a dozen items on it, including iPads, laptops, student laptops, desktop computers. Is this the entire 63.5 million?
Yes.
Right here?
Yes.
Because there's like 2 things there, but there's about 14 things on the list. You
And
can
we've
see that.
done the same thing with the exterior and interior. We went the district needs assessment, and it comes as a package.
Okay, so the 2 of these are like $30 million a piece. Each of these update and upgrades, or upgrade and updates in laptops and iPads.
That's 60.
Yes.
Well,
63.4, roughly 30 million each, probably.
Yes.
No, so the 63 million contains replacements for iPads and laptops. It also is a lot of upgrades to our network, both wired and wireless network across the campus, and some of the software to support that. So it's not, the 63 million is not just iPads and laptops.
Oh yeah, but there's only 2 things on the screen in front of me, but you can see how many lines there are on the chart that I printed. So those 2 things represent all all of them, all 14 or whatever it is.
Ken, didn't the committee add the laptops and iPads for the one-on-one?
Yes. Item one is the
That-
district needs assessment.
That's not going to be
Item-
on your list, Dave. We added
Yeah.
that committee.
Oh, okay.
And
Yeah.
So
Ken
that's,
put,
I'm sorry, I
Yeah.
understand the question.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's over and above the 63.4 million.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
The 63 million replace from an iPad and laptop perspective, it replaces aging laptops and iPads.
Okay.
That's not
And that's on your
adjusted
list.
one-to-one.
Yeah. And so Ken gave us a range on the one that the committee added, either, from 9.7 to 16.8.
Yeah.
On the one with the range, if we decide yes on that, how will the decision be made? Which side of that range, what the purchases would be?
I would suspect that just as you would, and this is Ken talking, there'll be a cost estimate, and the district will decide based on their plan on how that distribution works.
So could we assume that if we went 1-to-1 for, say, grades 6 through 12, that those numbers would have, I can't think of a reason why a kindergartner would need a laptop or an iPad, but I can think of about 1 billion different reasons why a college junior or senior could use one. And then a follow-up to that would be maybe for Mr. Jacobson, what would be the downside if we were to give every student 6 through 12 their own laptop?
Well, I'll answer that question. So we're mixing two different things. I can answer from a technical perspective, but then instructionally, that would be up to academics. And some of the decisions on which grade levels or whatever got which devices, whether it's iPads or laptops, that would be a decision probably for a lot of people, but that would be driven by academics instruction, not by the technical components of it.
When we're looking at instruction with laptops, it's not necessarily just the laptop is a tool, but there's other things that we also need to keep in mind as we're providing laptops to our kids, or recommending that there would be training so that we could ensure that they're maximizing the use of that. And so that is a portion of a one-to-one aspect. Currently right now, what we have is we have enough laptop carts throughout 6 through 12, and even in the elementary campuses, to where a number of kids and classes are utilizing them based upon need. And then, as Mr. Jacobson also stated, is that we have the one to needs. So if we have laptops at different campuses, and particularly as you start looking at the high school level, those laptops can be checked out to kids that are in need of that based upon their instructional endeavors at that time.
Sherry, how are we doing on time?
Oh, sorry, Ken. Our 5 minutes is up.
Okay, I'll go one more question.
Yeah.
Is the first
I know
line
what I
item,
think.
is the
Go
first
ahead,
line
sorry.
item for the upgrades? Does this count anything for the new high schools and everything else? All the IT services are going to be new for the new schools. Is that included in that 63, or is this just upgrades and repair replacing?
That does not include new campuses. Those are a separate budget.
Typically, when you build a new campus, you build that into from a previous bond election. Put it that way. Okay.
So is there a dollar value for each of these two?
Mm-hmm.
The first one is like 12 million, and then the bottom one is the 63 million. Is that the way that works?
Yeah, and I can tell you that I put down just an average between the two as far as doing total dollar figures when we get to the recommendation.
Can you see my screen, Dave?
Yeah, but it's the wording is covered up and there's no dollars. There's percentages.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's down in the writing. Upgrades and updates to infrastructure.
Oh, I see it now. Okay,
That's where
thank
I
you.
found it.
The
Yeah.
first one is the 63 million that came from the district. The second one is came from the questions driven by the committee that I tried to put numbers to.
Yeah.
So sorry, David, when we talk about the upgrades and updates, what are we talking about? What does that entail?
So our laptops tend to last for 5 to 6 years, depending on parts and availability, as well as our desktops. Our iPad replacement is driven by when Apple decides that the operating system will no longer work on that, or can no longer be upgraded on that device. So we're in the 5 to 7 year replacement cycle for our hardware, which is pretty good. We get a lot of good life out of it. And so what we do is we look at, for a 2020 bond package, what hardware will become obsolete during the life of that 2020 bond package. So it's approximately 2021 through 2024. And so we replace the hardware that would become obsolete during that bond cycle.
Okay.
All right.
And
We're
this does
going
not
to,
include the software?
yeah,
Sorry.
we've got to move forward. We're going to launch the poll right now. All right. Our number 35 has been hit. And here are our results. We've got 81% on the upgrades overall for the entire district, and 58 to 42. So we'll table that and circle back around to that. Okay. Good job, folks. We're moving forward. Now we are on to fine arts. Interestingly, only one item on fine arts. It is orchestra rooms. This was listed in the needs assessment by the district. Add orchestra rooms. There's a list provided for you in the district needs assessment, 12,000,007. Any clarifying questions on this one?
If we vote for this, how many more schools will need orchestra rooms in the 2023 bond issue?
Staff?
Can you repeat that question again, please?
Yes.
Oh, go ahead, Dave. I'm sorry.
Well, if we voted for this, I think, let's see, there must be 9 of them. If we vote for these 9, how many other junior highs and whatevers will need orchestra rooms when you come back to us in 2023?
Yeah, this completes the current campuses that we have either under construction now and in the existing facilities. This will get an orchestra room in all of those facilities.
Okay, so then the next question would be, in the new schools that are in this bond issue, does the newest high school include an orchestra room? And I believe there's a middle school in there, or a junior high. Does it include an orchestra room, or would that have to be added in the next bond issue?
The recommendation that we have for those new schools would include the orchestra room.
Okay. So this would be the last time we look at orchestra rooms.
Yes, sir.
All right. Hearing no
Dr. Helvey, could I add some additional information for the committee? This is Ram Estrada. I'm the District Director of Performing and Visual Arts. And I'd like to just share some additional information. When we started the string program in Lamar in 2017, there were only 165 students and 2 teachers. And as we go into 2020 fall, we're well over 500 and 5 teachers. And in order for those programs to continue to flourish, we really need to have dedicated orchestra facilities so that program can reach its full potential. We're joined by Katie and Fort Bend, who both have nationally recognized orchestra programs. And I think that we could easily reach that level with the talent of our kids and the continued dedication of our staff. But we really appreciate your support if you could help us out with this.
And this, by the way, was on the district needs assessment.
If it's all right, I'd like to add one other thing. Being on the ground over in the maroon track, I can tell you that they are literally running out of spaces to put the orchestra directors and students. That a space has become such an issue, and I know it's happening on other tracks as well. So it's one of those situations where, you know, just to be aware, we are literally running out of space.
All right, with that, we're going to launch the poll right now. Poll is open. Now we're up to 37, so we've obviously had a couple of people that have been able to join us. But that's going to happen. But that's in this environment, that's going to happen. So.
Yeah.
All right, we'll share the poll. We've got 63 feel like we need to move forward, 37, so we'll table this for further analysis. Okay, moving on to athletics. Athletics, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 items. The first 4 were recommended in the district's needs assessment. That would include the district facility, which is the big one, build new stadium, approximately $82 million plus. The practice pool at Terry High, replacing the practice pool at $16 million. Athletics, practice pool at Randall High, practice pool 15.8. And then a shot put and discus and parking area at Lamar High School, and shot put's about $2.7 million. Then there were a couple of items added by the committee. Cover for basketball courts. Not sure about where that one was. Oh, it's 16.
Yeah, remember, Ken, you left one of the athletics one out.
Which
remember?
One?
I can't remember because our sheet here only has 4.
Oh yeah, but I've got the list that has them all.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I don't know.
So mine isn't going to be totally.
Yeah, that one's not going to be too. Yeah, the poll will show that.
Okay.
And then football field upgrades with fencing at George Junior High and Lamar Junior High at $2.5 million, and then the notes attached to that. Clarifying questions on athletics.
Hey, Ken, this is Hope again. I thought there was discussion about the baseball field at Fulshire High School. I thought that should have been on the list because our group, we had a student on our group that is a Fulshire student, and they told us about the drainage issues at the baseball field.
Is that one of the ones that got tabled?
No. No, because we hadn't done anything with
There
that.
it is. I see it, Ken. Fixed drainage on Fulshire High School baseball field. Oh, on staff notes, it says maintenance. So
it means that, the reason it was left off is because it's being taken care of.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All
right.
I couldn't figure out why I would have left it off, but then that makes sense. Yeah, it was.
They heard you, Hope.
Thank you.
It was taken care of. Yeah.
Thank you.
Ken, I have a question.
Sure.
In our group, we talked about the baseball facilities at George Ranch, and that got left off.
Let me look.
Let's see the notes, Sherry.
Upgrade existing baseball complex at George Ranch, and it has over in staff notes maintenance.
Okay, it's being taken care of.
Thank you.
Okay. If it's not on the list now, with the exception of that one, it means taken care of by staff. So.
Yeah,
I'm reading.
Talking about the Randall High School natatorium or the practice pool building, shouldn't that have been already included in the original construction of the high school?
Kevin?
The school's not even built yet.
Yeah, Kevin?
When we, at the time, when we had the 2017 bond, we budgeted for the high school, the junior high. But then, as we have done in the past, we come back in the next bond and do the 6th grade. And now we're going to do the natatorium with the 6th grade, because that was how we put together in the 2017 bond. Does that answer that question?
No, I'm not clear on that logic. In the cost of the construction of the new high school at Randall, you're saying that the 6th grade, that you put the pool in the 6th grade budget? I'm not understanding what you're saying.
No, sir. That just means that we build that high school and junior high complex. The junior high, when we open the school, will house 3 grades. It's actually designed for 2. And then we come back in the next bond and build the 6th grade school, which is a separate facility. And then we chose at that time to also add the, in the recommendation, the natatorium practice pool to be added in that next bond with the next facilities.
Will there be a pool?
I can't hear you, sir. You're muted.
I think you muted, Mike.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Will there be a pool in the new high school that's going out? Is that going to be in the budget for that?
In the proposed,
Yes.
from this proposal? No, sir.
But the district, it's like a district mandate, or it's a district requirement for all the high schools to have pools, is it not?
I don't know if it's a mandate. That's the
Well,
direction.
I mean, that's all the schools have practice pools, and that was something that the district wanted to have happen. I don't understand why, after the fact, after the school has already been built, we're putting in a, more construction on campus when it should have been done at the initial, in my opinion. So you're saying there's a reason for that. I just don't understand that reason.
Okay. Other questions?
Mr. Maha, I would just add a little bit. I think when you look at the total amount of each of our bond elections, right now it's a pretty sizable amount. And I think traditionally what the district has done, knowing that when you build our complexes, it's unique to Lamar CISD, where we have a 6th grade middle school, a 7th and 8th junior high, and a 9th through 12th high school all together on one site. And so as we have a 3-year bond cycle, traditionally we've come in, we've opened up our campuses where we can have 6th, 7th, and 8th start out at the junior high. We have 2 grades typically at the high school, and it builds up. And so while those facilities aren't as utilized in the first few years, as it builds up and we come back on that 3-year bond cycle, we close it out. We add the things like, now that we have natatoriums for equitable purposes, we would add that. We would build the middle school, and we would finish the complex out. So that's really just a philosophical decision to look at how we're managing the bonds.
Thank you, Mike.
But by doing what you're doing, are you not, by piecemeal, are you not down the road increasing the cost of building out that facility? Because it seems to me that if you include it with the initial build, it's going to be less expensive to do it on the initial build than it is to try and shoehorn it in at a later date, because you're going to have tear out that you wouldn't necessarily have with a new build. This is, I know, as you're saying, this is a quote philosophical or whatever type of discussion you want to call it. But the fact of the matter is that the way that we're piecemealing this thing, we're artificially trying to say that the cost of having this school is lower than it actually is, because the full cost is going to be borne by the district taxpayers at some point in time, okay? And we're setting out, this is, to me, this is almost like a bait and switch. You say the school's gonna cost a certain amount, and then at a later date, you add 20, 30 million to it when you wanna throw in a pool and whatever additional niceties that you'd like to have down the road that weren't included with the original build.
Other questions on athletics?
So just to kind of piggyback on what the gentleman just said, this high school that we just approved, I think we were over the 80%. Is that going to include a pool for 161 million?
I thought I heard no.
It is correct. It does not include a practice pool.
I would ask that we revote that, because I think we're piecemealing this thing, and I think that that's a significant issue.
It needs to include a practice pool. All the other high schools have practice pools. I thought that was in the original bid for the high school.
Let's do this.
I would put a motion on the table for the committee to revisit that particular vote.
I'll second that motion.
Which I don't
It's in
understand
schools
what
and land, and it's number 1 in schools and land.
Oh, okay. Well,
Yeah,
I tell you
it
what,
passed
I will just
97%.
say, without doing a vote, we will revisit the high school based
Yeah,
on
it's
that.
the very first one.
But we're going to do it after we finish tabled items. We'll come back. to that.
I've got it written down. I won't forget.
And I suggest that, again, somebody formulate into a question that allows the staff the time to process and answer that question, because it's, you know, again, somebody said philosophical. I agree, it's somewhat philosophical. So with that, are there any other clarifications?
Which of this list is identified on the needs assessment versus what was done in
The first 4 items: district facility, build new stadium, practice pool, Terry High, practice pool, Randall High, and the shot put, discus, and parking at Lamar were the district needs assessment items.
And that's all you see on my screen. For some reason, I have the ones you added, but you'll see it in the poll.
Well, they should be. Well, yeah.
Well, I mean, I only have the 4, Ken.
Really?
New stadium, Terry.
Okay, all right. Well, you'll see it on the poll then.
Yeah, you'll see it on the poll. That's what I was
yeah.
Yeah, no.
Okay, I'm going to launch the athletics poll.
Miss Sherry. I know we're voting right now, Brian Force, George Ranch High School. These are all tier 1, correct, for the needs for LCISD?
The first 1, 2, 3, 4 are, right, Ken?
Well, they're all district. Now, whether they were priority ones, I don't know. The staff say that. Yeah.
And that I don't know. We added as a committee number 5,
yeah,
number 6.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I answered your question.
Yeah.
Sorry, let me get that down.
All right. Sharing results.
I'm in a meeting.
43.
Yeah, 57-43 for the new stadium. Terry High School pool, this is interesting. Terry High School 73%, but Randall is 76%. So we'll have to mitigate that, I'm sure. Lamar tennis courts, 81. Covering of the courts at 1621, 65, and then football field upgrades at fencing at George Ranch Lamar, 78%. So we got a few yeses there. Some we still have some work to do on.
Yeah, we do.
So Ken, 73 to 76 is 3%. That's about one person.
Yeah, you know, to me, I know if you make a recommendation and the board looks at this, they're going to go, okay, well, we got to include the Randall. We got to include both, but we'll get to that. So let's just keep moving. We're making progress.
Oh, okay. Next, transportation.
Here we go. Okay, transportation. Let me review what we've got from my list. We have 5 that were recommended by the district. Transportation terminal updates. I'm sorry, transportation terminal number 3.
Number 3, brand new.
Brand new, 27 million. Transportation new buses, 78 of them, 9.3. Transportation system looks like upgrade to camera systems, 810,000. Upgrade audio visual. Add audio visual recording device to the front counter, 10 security cameras at Fulsher. That was a kind of a lower cost item, is 66,000. Then there was a committee request to increase buses at, I think, oh no, it was increased bus, add another bus facility, a new transportation. In the notes it says a new transportation facility number 3 is included in the needs assessment. The district does not recommend a 4th site. So that item was that even on there, Sherry?
No.
Okay, yeah, we didn't even have that on the survey. I don't even know why I have it on here. I thought, I'm sorry, just forget about that one. That's not on there.
So Ken, all 5 of these are from the district needs assessment. They're not from our.
Yes. Clarifying questions on transportation.
Will the new buses include seatbelts? That was a big topic in 2017.
Yes, since that, this is Mike Jones here, Transportation Director. Since that that 2017 bond meeting, the state legislature passed a law that requires all new seatbelts, all new school buses in Texas to have seatbelts.
So will the existing buses be retrofitted?
There are not plans to refit any of the existing buses with seatbelts at this time. The liability issue with that, with refitting those, a lot of our dealers don't want to do that.
I remember that as a big issue, yes. Okay.
Will buses be spread out across the district, or will like the new facility get the new buses?
No, what we typically do when we get new buses in is to spread them out proportionally across the tracks. George Ranch and Terry tracks tend to get more of the new buses because they have more bus routes. The smaller tracks get fewer of the new buses. So we try to assign the buses according to routes proportionally to each track.
So a specific track won't get seatbelts and the other tracks won't be without seatbelts.
Correct. Correct. With the last buses that we got that had had seatbelts, what we did with those is we made a large number of those. The majority of those went to our trip buses. We have a number of buses that are dedicated to field trip use by coaches and by some of our drivers that spend a lot of time out on the road. And we thought having those buses with seatbelts out on the road where the buses are traveling at a higher speed would be a better use of that safety feature than to keeping them in town at a slower speed.
Hey, Mike, this is Ted McCoy.
My camera is on.
Just real quickly, can you tell me with the buses that are out there now without seatbelts, what is the date you have for phasing those out of the district so that all the buses will have seatbelts for all the students?
Well, typically the district tries to retire the buses at around 15 years.
Okay, so based on that, when do you anticipate, about what year do you anticipate that all the buses will be seat belted?
It would probably be with the buses purchased in the 23 bond.
Okay, thank you.
You know, to accelerate that would require the purchase of more buses, you know, either with this round or the next round of buses.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
With the seatbelt mandate, are there any funding from the state to help support schools with the seatbelts? I know in our 2017, I had made a big deal about the seatbelts, and I know it was said that due to lack of state funding is why they couldn't go back and put seatbelts in the old buses.
There is no funding available from the state.
Do you know of any state or federal program that would lessen the liability for the district or for a vendor that we would choose to do the seatbelting of current buses that don't have seatbelts on them to allow us to seatbelt earlier?
Now, I'm sorry, ask that question again, please.
Okay. Do you know if there's any state or federal guidelines or legislation that might help us to answer the questions that the vendors are having with liability issues in retrofitting these buses without seat belts, where the vendor would be maybe held harmless and maybe the district might be held harmless while we more quickly get seat belts on those buses?
I'm not aware of any program like that.
Yeah.
Even though the district is pretty well protected from a lot of tort liability, transportation is one of those areas where we have a lot of exposure to tort laws.
Okay, that was just a thought.
Final question. Okay, poll is launched. Okay, I think we got everybody in. We got 84%, number one, of the build new transportation terminal. 95% on the new buses, 89% on transportation terminal updates, camera systems 92, and
Wow.
audio visual recording. Oh my gosh. We have lots of safety-minded people.
Yes, we do. This category is done.
Yes, across the board. Well done, everybody.
Mike, are you feeling good?
All right.
Feeling very good. Thank you.
Sherry, did you get them? Sherry, did you get all that?
Yeah, I got it. I got it.
Okay, good. Okay. All right. And we are at our last category of this first round. This is the other category. And other, we have child nutrition upgrades. We have a district event center. And let's see.
Can you read, Ken? You have expand.
Yeah, expand 1621. And the district, by the way, the district, I don't know why I don't have that on my list, but anyway, district recommendations were the child nutrition center upgrades, child nutrition upgrades, the police station, and the event center. The other items, the expansion of 1621, addition of 3 classrooms, and the
radio infrastructure.
Was that was district?
That was district.
That was district. Yes, that was district. Radio infrastructure at 3.4. So, questions, clarifications on the other?
I certainly have a question about the district event center.
Sure.
If, they said that the charge for the Merrill Center is $62,000 an event. Is that $62,000 per day, so that if you were to have 3 graduations there, it would be $62,000? Or would it be $62,000 for 9 a.m. and $62,000 for 1 p.m. and $62,000 for 5 p.m.? How does that work? Because if the Merrill Center went up to $100,000, okay, you could have 1,050 events. You could have an event a week for 20 years. You could have 2 events a week for 10 years, 4 events a week for 5. Whatever. The economics of it is mind-boggling. The other issue when you look at this, if you're going to do it, you got maybe $7 million for the parking lot for the event center, and you have $13 million for the parking lot for the stadium. Logic would tell me that you should build the stadium and the event center close together with a parking lot in the middle, and you would save maybe $7 million right off the bat. So, I'm going to tell everybody right now, I'm voting no on this thing because I just don't think the economic justification.
Dave, I'm going to say something. It's hard to keep you focused.
No, but I mean, think about it. You could have 1,050 events.
Oh, I agree.
Every week, one event for 20 years. Yeah. And you still have all the overhead and all of the maintenance on this thing for 20 years.
Let's get to step 1 first. So, okay.
Just clarification, knowing who or what kind of revenue might be generated out of this facility from the district's perspective. Obviously, if we're paying Katy ISD, could we maybe get Needville ISD to graduate their seniors here and get money from those guys? What's kind of the economics of this deal?
Staff, do you have any analysis on that at this point? And you may not have, I don't know.
I can tell you that I looked into the Merrill Center as well as into what used to be called the Berry Center, and now they've changed the name, and it's escaped me what it is now. And their facilities, their overhead is actually predominantly covered by not just the money that they save from rentals outside of their own district, but in monies that they bring in from organizations that rent their facilities and utilize their facilities. So it's not just a matter of the money that we save by not going to and spending money at another facility for graduations, but also, another facility for our convocations and all of those events that we have, but also the money that they bring in from outside.
Let me answer the question in regard to graduation that you first asked. and that is the 62,000. Is that per day, or is that 3 graduations a day? We have traditionally graduated 1 class on a Thursday night, and 3 or 2, and then Saturday. So 5 graduations within really 3 days: Thursday night, Friday night, and then we would have 3 on a Saturday. Obviously, that would be extended as we continue to add high schools and graduating high schools, but that is inclusive of 5 graduations that have happened within a 3-day period.
What exactly are the nutritional upgrades that we're going to be voting on? Are those new kitchens? What exactly does that entail?
Should be. Let me find my list.
Kevin?
Looking at your list,
I got it.
Teresa, just in response to what you had to say, I think that you also need to look at the events that you were just talking about. Those are once a year events, okay? And while maybe 1 week or 2 weeks out of the year, that facility may be utilized at its fullest capacity and to its capabilities, the other 51 weeks out of the year is what I would be worrying about. And during the course of the year, that facility still ages, whether it's being utilized or not. And so there is going to be maintenance, and there is going to be upgrading that's going to be necessary over the course of time. I think I'm standing here with Dave. I'll tip my hat and say that without an assessment of the revenue that we would generate, or that we know that we could generate by other people coming in here and having a presentation to tell us what that is, I just don't see how this is economically feasible.
I would other clarifications. On child nutrition, did we get an answer on that?
I have it if you want me to read it real quick.
Sure.
Foster High, replace equipment. Seguin Early Childhood Center, renovate kitchen and serving lines. And George Junior High, replace serving line doors.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
I have a comment about the event center, since we're going back and forth on this.
That's what we are.
We're talking with the nutrition is on a different list, but oh yes, it's right here. Given our economic situation, I would look at partnering with the county. I know that Vincent had a recommendation, or they were going to put on a county bond for an event center at the fairgrounds. So that could be something where we could do concerts with the Fort Bend County Fair, during the fall, and have graduations with the school district. So I would be interested in, exploring some type of partnership with the county for an event center.
Let me suggest
work with the county and let the county create the facility, and we just piggyback on that. Let them pay for the maintenance of the facility when it's not being used, rather than the school district having to do it.
Let me bring us back together here. I suspect this is not going to be one of those that's an automatic yes, which is good. So with that being the case, let's go ahead and move forward.
Wait, I have one question. I'm so sorry. I was just sitting back waiting on the event. What is expansion 1621? What is that for the additional 3 classrooms?
We added that.
Yes.
Yes, I
the
saw that.
The committee added that.
What school is this for?
Just 1 second. I saw it. Location 1621.
What is, you'd have to tell me. I don't know what 1621. I assume that is some campus.
1621 is like the Alternative Learning Center.
Okay, I knew it. Okay.
And 1621, I think, is where people go instead of dropping out of high school. They go there to get like a
That's what.
Yeah, like a.
Hi, this is
Melissa.
Melissa.
Kind of GED. There she goes. There's the lady. She was in my group, so I know she knows.
Yes, this is Melissa, a principal of 1621. It's Lamar's school of choice.
Gotcha.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Okay, we're going to launch poll. We got some background noise. If somebody would mind muting their background.
Just so everybody knows that wasn't me crying in the bed.
It was a sweet baby.
It was me.
Okay, I'm going to share results.
35.
35 to 65 on the event center. 95% child nutrition upgrades. We're close on expansion of the school of choice, by the way.
Yeah.
Police station, we're at 70%, and district-wide radio, we're at 76%. So we've got some ones that are people feel good about moving forward. I can tell you from this result right here, the 37% of the district event center, that's a pretty low turnout. So I think the discussions were great, but if it's not going to be a recommendation from the committee, I'm not sure that we need to spend a lot of time talking about it, but it's tabled and we will have another chance to do that. Okay. Stop. Sherry, you got all this?
Yeah, got it.
All right. Now, Sherry,
we're going back. Backwards, right? Going all the way to number 1.
We're going all the way to number 1. We have 3 items there. Actually, we have 4 because I know there is, we want to revisit the high school. I'm going to suggest we don't do that one now. I want to stick with the ones that are tabled and we'll come back around to that. But we have 3 items. Of course, there's more on your survey. 3 items that did not bring to consensus: the additional early childhood center, the career and technology center at $75 million, and the additional early child was $35. And there was a suggestion to replace Travis Elementary. Way this round will work is it's a yes, no. It's not a yes table, it's a yes, no. So any other clarifying questions or anything on these, anything people want to add to the conversation before we do a poll on the ones we've tabled?
So say again which ones. It looks like the bottom 3.
The bottom 3.
Yeah.
Bottom 3.
Okay.
The bottom 3.
And were those bottom 3? Were those bottom 3 added by the committee?
Yes.
Additional early child. Let me look.
They were.
They were, Ken. Okay, you got it.
I've got it. Yes, they were.
Yes, they were.
Can I ask a question? What on Travis Elementary replace or combine with Ray? I'm not familiar. Are they adjacent to each other or very close where that could be done?
Whoever suggested that, would you like to add? Hopefully they're here. They may not be here.
I'm not sure is she here. There was it came out of our committee. Number 5. The principal at Travis Elementary, we were having the discussion about how close they were, and the age of Travis, and the conversations about the rebuilds that were necessary, and that led to the discussion of, if there's this much work that needs to be done on these 2 schools, why not combine the 2 of them? One of them, I believe the discussion from the district was the attendance rates are dropping, not attendance, but the numbers of students is dropping. So there was that discussion. That's just my clarifying what that conversation was about.
In the answer to the question, yes, they are close in proximity. My understanding is that I know because I live in Rosenberg where they are. They share a playground. I mean, they're like back to back on the same block, and they share like playground facility and like outside space. So they're fairly close together. Yes.
Kind of like Old Elsick and Hastings. I'm going to digress for a second. I've been studying other school districts, and Humboldt is independent school district in their current, well, it's a 2018 510-page submittal, many hundred millions of dollars. They actually are rebuilding 2 schools on site. It's very interesting that they're doing that. They are a little bit larger than Lamar and grown at almost exactly the same rate. And so it looks, not knowing anything about the two schools, other school districts are doing this now, where they've got the site and they have a plan, and they've got like 5 steps, and they take this down and build, and this down and build, and just go on around. So it certainly is a possibility, and if you save the land, I don't know, on the Ray and the elementary, if the population of students is declining, then that may be good, because you may only have to build a half a school when you expand Ray.
Other comments?
Who would know more about that for us?
Well, I know they share a track. They don't share playgrounds. They each have their own playground. My son goes to Travis, and they do share a track, but that's about it.
It's my understanding that Travis was built in the 40s and is very inefficient as far as what we would consider to be a modern elementary school, which just, if you talk about, equity, kids should be allowed to go to commensurate schools.
Well, the problem would be combining. Wouldn't that violate the principles? If each school is supposed, as an elementary, then it would go from 750 to 1,500 students. That would violate the current plan that is still in effect from 2003.
I'm the principal at Travis, and our conversation was mostly about the library, and we were talking about the schools that Ray is nearby, and we started talking just about the infrastructure and the way my school is designed. This addition of replace or combine with Ray was kind of a last comment that was stated right before we joined back to the group, so we didn't even get a chance to really dive into it and talk about it. It was literally suggested and broke out.
I'm sorry. And I want to add, listen, and certainly don't want to diminish the role of committee, but I can tell you, when you're talking about this kind of change, either replacing or closing a campus or something like that, that is far beyond the role of this committee. So just keep that in mind, because I know in school district, those can become very emotional decisions. But we need to move forward and get some decisions made, because we're doing well. We're bound to the table ones. Our choice now is to look at, you think it should be moved forward or no? And we're looking for 75%.
Ken.
Yes.
This is Ben Perez, the principal of Taylor Ray Elementary School. So the facts are, we share a track. We do not share a playground. Our current enrollments, hers is close to 500. Mine is close to 600. We both have portables, so combining those campuses, you're going to add more portables.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
And although Travis is an older campus and it's not modern, it does have its capabilities. It has its culture, and it also has the technology and the needs for the students. So you're talking about taking away one culture by demolishing the school.
All right, let's move forward. We're launching the poll.
Dr. Helbing, this is Mike Rockwood. Just wanted to let you know, when we had the Amber Alert, we had one individual kicked out. So if you could just check the waiting room and make sure.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, Sherry. Yeah.
I got it.
Yeah. Looks like Rose and Zach. I admitted them.
Oh, did you? Okay.
And
Good.
I'll wait. And Rose and Zach, I think you may have just joined us. We've started a poll. I apologize that you got kicked out of your Zoom meeting, but I'll leave the poll up long enough. We are back around to the tabled items in each category. There were 3 in schools and land, and the choice is yes, move forward, or no, we don't feel like. Emphasizing it doesn't mean they're a bad idea. It just means that the committee doesn't feel it should be included at this time. And again, this is something that is a good preface for all of us. This is excellent data for the staff, for the board, all of these data points to look at, because when these suggestions come up, then they can obviously see, well, what was the committee's perspective on this? So. Thank you, Mike Rockwood, for letting us know that. Okay. In poll, share results. And at this point, the committee does not feel like these need to move forward. You got that, Sherry?
I got it.
43% for, 35 and 22.
Yeah,
Again,
I
does
got
not
it.
mean a bad project, just means that the committee didn't feel like that it should be included. Okay. All right. Close that. Now we're moving to internal improvements, and I know we had one change. Let me see.
We're gonna come back and revisit the high school
So we'll-
end. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. On interior improvements, the bottom two we tabled.
Yes. Now here's where, and Mike McKeever, Kevin McKeever, I'm going to put you on alert because I know one item there needed to be some additional work and cost analysis on the Travis Elementary Library expansion. And what you gave me was an expansion and revision. Anyway, I'm going to let you explain it, but that cost, everybody listen, is listed at 5.5 million. You'll notice I didn't put one on there because I didn't know what it was. It's actually 2.7 million. So Kevin, would you elaborate on that one item?
You're talking about the Travis Library?
I am talking about the Travis Library.
Yes, sir. We went back and looked at that again and looked at just removing the offices and renovating the library space, but it did not meet the TEA requirements for the size of a library with their current enrollment. So we looked at adding on to the facility, kind of flipping where those classrooms are across the hallway and adding on the library and moving the classrooms. And we came up with a price of 2.7 million to renovate just that library and bring it up to current code.
Thank you. Questions, comments on these two items? Next one, the Huggins vestibule entry, classroom upgrades.
Yeah, and remember this is Huggins. We just have, it's not Travis.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Because the survey is wrong. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
it's Huggins.
The poll will be correct. And these were suggested by the committee.
Yes, they were. Two.
How many of these various repairs would really be maintenance that should come out of an M&O budget instead of a bond? You know, I saw one picture, and there was a picture of a junction box with a circuit breaker. I would think that either replacing the entire junction box or replacing a circuit breaker, those kinds of things should be done on a routine basis, first of all, because it could be a fire hazard, and secondly, because it's not that expensive. Maybe that was just a bad choice of pictures, but.
Kevin, any comment on that?
I believe that was part of the package in the district facility updates and renovations. And I believe, didn't we reach consensus the first time through that this discussion is just about items 2 and 3? Isn't that correct?
I don't remember that.
Yeah, no, you're right. We 92% on the district facility upgrades.
Oh, okay. Yeah, but we're talking about the Huggins Elementary.
But I think Dave's question, I think it was Dave, was.
Well, I'm looking at, I thought we were looking at $65.3 million with about 20 different elementary school and whatever repairs.
We had already, was your question how much was any of these items that were tabled included in that?
Well, yeah, I thought we were still including this because you said interior and the top item here is 65 million. So I thought.
But we've already approved that.
Yeah, last week
that was like 90%.
Okay, you're looking at the 76.67. Okay.
Yeah.
We're looking at the 2.7 and the 4.5.
Understood. Sorry about the delay.
Yeah.
No, that's okay.
Yeah.
I have a question. So for number one, for the 65 million for interior improvements, we're not going to have an opportunity to go line by line?
No.
On the 65 million?
No.
Why not?
We include all the district recommendations in one.
Well, that is what I think the committee is formed for. I think if we have questions about line items for 65 million, that's the responsibility of the committee to go through and ask those questions, because I have a question about, we're doing LED lighting upgrades on a lot of schools, and we have Westendorf, Austin, Long, and Williams that have a priority 1 in the facilities master plan that are not on this list. And my question was, if that's not going to be on this bond, will it be on the next one? And how did we decide what school is priority over another to be in this bond?
Yeah.
So
all I can say is this is the way we do it, mainly because there are so many items, and the district has done an analysis of that. Now, what I would say, Jennifer, is ask those questions.
Oh yeah, we could get it answered.
Send a question so you can get an answer to that. But the committee has already overwhelmingly approved that entire list.
I understand that, but I feel like we're going at a very fast pace, and this is a lot of money. This is like the biggest bond of Fort Bend ISD was almost $1 billion. I understand that, but compared to a county or a city in Fort Bend County, this is a lot of money. And I feel like Zooming this meeting,
and the
Zooming,
we're in the first.
Hang on, we got people talking over one another.
Sorry. Zooming the meeting. When we met in person in 2017, we had a lot of opportunity for group discussion. Our meetings went longer. So I feel like we're really being rushed through this process.
Well, I can definitely understand that I prefer the face-to-face meetings with that.
Can I weigh in?
But
are we muted? No. Ken, this is Chris in facilities. We did receive Ms. Lane's list questions later this afternoon. We did get those, and we can provide clarification on those items. We want to give an accurate answer to every single one.
Sure.
So we have that list, and we will be able to answer those questions in the coming days.
And also, in the 2017 bond committee meetings, we also had an opportunity to advocate for certain schools that we felt very strongly about. And it really gave us an opportunity to do that. And I feel like that opportunity is being missed by having this meeting online. And I understand the situation and why we need to do it this way. But I feel like we're on this committee because we care about the school district. And this is our opportunity for us to advocate, because we don't have time to go to school board meetings every month or whenever they hold them, to get our concerns heard. So I just feel like, our kids deserve that. Our teachers deserve that. And that's why I,
Jennifer,
volunteered to be on this committee.
I would say on being able to advocate, that's what the group work was about. And that's where these projects came from, was their capacity to advocate for that. And
we don't have that.
Right?
We're in. We don't have the list of who's in our groups.
That was one time.
We met for 30 minutes in a group discussion, and that was it. Yeah. When we were in person, we sat at a table at every meeting, and our meetings went 2 hours.
Well, I
almost
do
every
understand
time,
all that.
And we had more of an opportunity to meet as groups.
I think
and to discuss these.
I'm going to cut this off. We got to move forward. We still have.
I appreciate that you want to move forward, Ken, but I think Jennifer has a valid point here, I think that Jennifer is absolutely right. Grouping these large dollar, big ticket items together and not allowing the committee to speak through those for expediency, I think is just not appropriate. It's almost as if the administration and the staff have come together through whatever means, created a wish list, and now you're asking a group of citizens to come together and pencil whip in agreement to what you've already come to. And I just don't know that we've done enough due diligence from a financial perspective as taxpayers in this community and as residents. I don't know if we've done the right thing for the students, because we haven't talked through how much time have we spent on this first item, $65.3 million. how much time have we talked through those elements of that $63 million?
Okay, so this is Dave Urshek again. If we could go back to the high school, we should be able to go back to this and let all 60 of us vote on it.
Okay.
We are going to move forward with the process we're in. We're going to see where we are, and then we'll have another discussion when we get to that point. So with that, I'm going to launch a poll for these two items.
Why not all three?
Can I have a question? So if the vote is no, does that mean we are no longer talking about the project? Because I know we tabled the vestibule for Huggins, and I guess I was under the impression that staff was going to come back this round and give more information, and we were going to discuss the project in more depth.
What I think we're going to do, well, what I know we're going to do is once we get through tonight, which we will, we're going to, as far as this first round, I will go back and then put together the list. Okay, here's what the results were totally. And then you'll see totals for if all of these yeses are going, here's the total. And here are the things that weren't, and then you're going to be able to see some things that were maybe close or something like that. And I think, I know we'll rediscuss them at that time, which I anticipate by looking at time, that will definitely be next week.
Yes.
Okay. Sharing results. Library expansion at Travis, 75% say yes. 56% at Huggins say no. I mean, sorry, 56% say yes. So at this point, the committee decision is to move forward with the library expansion at Travis. And I'll reemphasize that is once we have all the data and we come back together next week, and Sherry and I have a chance to reflect on everything.
On the things you're saying.
On the things you're saying, we will try to make sure we can facilitate as much as possible to your liking, but we'll just see on that. Okay, you got that, Sherry?
I got it.
All right, we're moving on to exterior improvements. What's
the only one that was approved last time was the first one.
The first one, so
everything else didn't reach the threshold.
Okay, all right, let me kind of give a review on that. We've got access at Huggins Elementary, portable buildings, safety concern for kids. That was $25,000.
And it was close.
These are all, and all of the remaining items besides the first and district facility were
committee added.
Let's see, exterior fence around the playground and pickup line entrance at Ray, pickup line and parking at Huggins, pickup line at Frost, extending sidewalk around Frost, and surface walking track at Austin were all of those items. So, question?
Has anyone in staff taken these back and asked the people within the district association, since the citizens have identified these as the needs, what would priority be associated with that?
Let me get you to ask that question in writing. Do it in chat, and that way they can respond to that.
Well, they already had responded that some of the things had a maintenance code next to them in one of the earlier,
I've got it here.
or whatever.
Yeah. Other questions?
If they're coded under maintenance, why are we voting on them again?
They're not listed.
These are not. These
Yeah.
are not. These are not coded in maintenance.
An example of something you added was at Meyer Elementary parking lot resurfacing, and no, that's not a good one. Power washing at George Ranch High, and it was listed maintenance, so you don't see it here.
And then again, ask that question to the staff so they can respond appropriately. Other questions on exterior improvements?
Yes, I thought we already did fencing on another, I thought it was an exterior improvement. So why is fencing on an interior? I guess I'm getting confused.
It was on safety, the fencing.
So is this fencing included in the bulk safety?
No. Well, I don't know. I'm sorry. But let me answer that.
Look,
No.
see if it says.
Yeah, I can answer. The fencing around Ray Elementary is around the portable buildings, and that is included in our safety and security line item.
Oh, so it shouldn't even be there.
And that's what we're saying.
No.
According to my notes, you guys asked for fencing around the playground, play track area between the elementary schools for security.
Correct. And what I'm sharing is that fencing around the portable buildings that are currently there is added in safety and security. Fencing around the playground is not.
Okay, so that's why it's a line item.
And this is Ben Perez, the principal of Ray. I was a part of the committee. And what was discussed was just fencing around the portables, not around the playground or the pickup area.
Okay.
So does this item need to be there or not, I guess, for mine?
And then question, since Travis and Ray are right next door to each other, are we just going to fence one elementary school in and not the other?
The needs for the portable building fencing at both Travis and Ray are addressed in the safety and security line item.
But my
For the portable,
but the playground area.
Again,
playground is
this. Okay, so let me see if I understand. Number 2, the additional fencing. Well, no, not number 2 on your survey, but on
Number 3.
Additional fencing around Ray Elementary is not around the portable buildings. It's around the playground, right?
correct.
Okay.
So the playground around Travis.
Okay. So, well, we'll see how that may be an issue if the group feels like this is something that needs to move forward.
I'm confused. So are we saying that the additional fencing is needed, or are we taking that off?
No, we're not taking it off. We're saying that item is still
it's separate from.
It is separate from what they're talking about that's in the current safety and security exterior improvements. So it should stay on the list. All right, here we go. Okay. $78, $83, and 50% on the Huggins Elementary. So we'll move forward to the list at this point with the access to Huggins portable buildings and the fencing around it. And I know we'll, thinking back to that question about, okay, if you do it here, are we going to consider it in Travis? That's one of the things that I think you suggested. Staff will look at that as we move towards our final meeting.
Well, what do we do with the tie? Well, I guess it's below the threshold.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I didn't move it on down. There it was.
Yeah, we only added, we added 2 more.
Yeah, those first 2 items are the only ones that exceeded
And
the
then-
standard. Yeah.
For right now.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Okay, Sherry, moving forward.
Technology, it's the
The
item
second
we
one.
added,
Yeah.
the laptops,
The laptops.
the 101.
Thoughts on that one, folks?
We were at 58.42.
Okay.
Go.
I think it's something just.
Okay, we lost.
We lost.
With our Title I schools.
We could not hear a word you said.
Do you have me now?
Yeah, better.
Okay. I was just saying something to think about with our Title I schools. Currently, we check laptops out to students that are in the pre-AP or AP classes. And those are students that typically already have resources available to them at home or other places. With the nonprofit I currently manage and all that, like I deal with some of our more underprivileged students, and I mean, we have students doing homework on shattered iPhones, and my wife is a teacher at one of our Title I schools. And I mean, during this whole distance learning thing right now, she has kids that are having trouble submitting stuff. And so they're not pre-AP and they're not AP students. They don't have an opportunity to check out a laptop currently.
Other comments?
Does anybody know if we're going to still be doing remote learning next year? Because if so, and if this is going to stick around for several years, to supply the equipment, we can't, not everybody can afford that.
If it's going to stick around, do we need to afford to be, or do we need to be building schools?
Another good question.
The question, Dave, or somebody from curriculum could. I tell you what. Again, why don't you submit that and give the staff an opportunity to respond to that.
Do you want me to respond, Ken?
Oh yeah, if you can.
Oh yeah, you're there.
Yeah. If you're there, yeah.
Please.
Going back to, we obviously do not know exactly what the fall is going to look like. We're currently planning on that based upon local and state guidance, and we will continue to do so. We have passed out over 4,000 laptops currently to our kids, and then in addition to checking on our families through our remote check-ins, anybody that has needed any technology, we have provided. If they needed more than the one that we passed out to them, we have troubleshooted with the campus principals to make sure that as many people who needed those had what they needed, had the tool and had access to it. The data that we have coming back from us is that there are a large number of kids that are accessing Canvas. And so from the Title I campuses, I know I'm going to go back to what David said at the very beginning, is in the need. And so that is something that we can follow up with the principals, but we know that through our EOS program and some of the other programs for pre-AP, we are providing laptops to kids that do not necessarily have access to those laptops. And that is the program that, when we're talking about some of those campuses having that, that is what we're referring to. But again, as our community is communicating with us, we're trying to meet their needs throughout the year.
Hearing no more, we're going to vote on this one. Anybody else? All right, there we go. Okay. It is so interesting. Every district I've been involved with that is considering a one-to-one, it's always a mixed reaction. It really is. Okay. At this point, we don't have a consensus on that one. So we're going to move forward.
Fine arts is
there is
rooms.
Fine arts.
Mm-hmm. We were at 6337.
All right. And
earlier.
this was on the orchestra rooms, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay.
Discuss, talk.
We had quite a bit of discussion from the fine arts staff person.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see Ram. He may not be at his computer right now. I will, like I said, the one thing I will say is that we are outgrowing. We are outgrowing, and that's not a negative. That is a wonderful growth for the kids in the district. We have kids, and the amazing thing about the orchestra and the way that it's been being run, and again, I'm not an orchestra person, however, I can speak to the program, is that this is addressing all walks of life kids. It's not just, and I know orchestra is considered, it's kind of like baseball, it's considered to be the you know, the money fine art where it's very expensive and that sort of thing. But the district, it hasn't been, and the district has been very helpful in making sure that all of our leveled income kids have access to this program. And it has been growing exponentially and exploding out of the rooms, where and all of the fine arts people are working together well to make sure that there is room. And they've been, you know, bending around schedules to make sure that there are classrooms for them. But we're literally seeing orchestra people having to have orchestra rehearsals in classroom spaces, which are not necessarily ideal. And we're just running out of room for them. And that's where we are on the situation.
If I could weigh in on that also, this is Rand Estrada again. LJ is correct. We're in a situation where we're having to share spaces with band. Band is a very well-established program in our district, and there's just not enough room. And on multiple campuses, we've even had to implement in a regular classroom where there's a problem with sound bleeding over and not enough storage space. So for this program to thrive, we really, really need to have the appropriate facilities to keep us competitive with our neighboring districts.
Any other comments?
That kind of addressed one of my questions, was why aren't we sharing space with the band halls?
The band program, like I said earlier, is an established program. We have over 2,800 students enrolled in our band programs from grade 6 through 12. And so where there's an open period, we might be able to do that. But long term, as our orchestra program grows, that's not a realistic situation for us to be in. And it will cut into the availability and the usage of the space with the band, and it's going to hurt the band, and it's going to hurt the orchestra.
We've even reached the point at George Ranch where they're having to share the choir room as well as the band hall.
Is that a function of the overpopulation of the schools that the new schools are supposed to alleviate, or is it a function of the space?
Well, I'm going to take a shot at that. That might be a facilities question, but the new schools are designed with orchestra rooms. So when Randall and Wright open, they will have a dedicated orchestra practice space. The schools that are going to be affected by this item will have to come back from behind and build those.
I guess I'll rephrase that question. With a bunch of the high schools being overpopulated right now based upon their design criteria and their numbers, is there adequate space, or will there be adequate space for the orchestra department if the student population is decreased and it's back to the design criteria of students?
An orchestra room is designed for both practice, and it's large enough so there's space side by side, front and back for instruments. There's storage space for a cello, for a double bass, for violins, for kids that bring those in. You can't really get those in a band room that's already maxed out. Fulshire High School is a new school. It doesn't have an orchestra room. So where they're sharing it in a combined classroom, it's a regular sized classroom, but it's inadequate for the purposes of rehearsing and teaching. So that's why we're asking for this special space on the campuses so that we can implement the program with fidelity.
Okay, we're launching the poll. Okay, we're going to end. Share results. At this point, it's not the consensus to move forward with this. I'm going to make an interesting observation. Same thing happened in 2017. The committee did not come to consensus on the orchestra item, whatever it was. And it's my understanding that at the board level, they wanted it considered back in. So that is just to say, remember, the recommendation from the committee is a recommendation. The board has to view the entire thing and determine to what extent it's going to fit within their role or their decision. So I just kind of thought that was interesting.
It appears there's fewer people voting in that last vote than votes earlier in the meeting.
Now there's between 36 and 37 in every single time I'm watching them.
But that one we had 24 and 12, we had 36.
Yeah, there's 36 and a lot of times it just depends on people get kicked out and, that kind of thing. So,
you'd think that maybe at some point in time, the board would also take no for an answer.
So, well, and they may do that. They may do that. But again, okay, Sherry, moving forward. Athletics. What do we got left on athletics?
The new stadium and replace Terry High School, what is it? Terry High School practice pool. Those two we're addressing again.
I knew you'd appreciate that comment, RC.
But I thought we were going to talk about the pool at the high school.
Yeah, and we've got two others, Ken, the covering for the court and the football field.
Okay, you're going to give me just a second, Sherry, because I'm going to have to do some.
Okay.
I'm going to have to do some poll management here.
Okay. Yeah, we on that item number 1 on the very first group, high school, we were going to talk about again pool. That was for new construction.
Just a second. We are on athletics, right?
Yeah, and my list here doesn't have the covering for the court and the football field upgrades. But those were not approved. Well, no,
okay.
Football field upgrades were approved.
Here, okay, so tell me what is tabled so I can.
Okay, new stadium.
Gotcha.
Replace Terry High School practice pool.
That is tabled, right?
And one more. That number 5, that was, I don't have it in front of me, but I wrote down covering for court.
Gotcha. All right.
3 were not approved. Were tabled.
So we should have 4 items. New stadium, replace Terry High School pool, Lamar tennis courts, and covering for football.
Lamar tennis courts approved. It was at 81, the first round.
Okay, so that one's gotta go.
81 and 19.
So
3 items.
3 items. I've got new stadium,
Terry High School pool, and covering for the courts. And I think our discussion about the pool.
Okay, I'm sorry. And I apologize to the committee. I've got to get this straight. Okay. New stadium and what else?
Replace Terry High School practice pool.
Terry. Good. And
Ken, I don't know how you worded it, the last one, because I don't have it. I just wrote
covering for the court at 1621.
No. I mean, so I can find it. You've got it on the poll. I just don't have it on my list. Let me find it real quick.
It would be interesting to know how much money can be generated by a new stadium. I find it odd that we're voting against.
Yeah, 1621.
That could actually generate.
Okay, 1621. Okay, let me show you what I've got. Oh, of course.
We'll talk.
All right. We got a new stadium, Terry High School pool, and the covering at the court at 1621.
Yes, that's it.
Gotcha. All right. All right. Now we can go back to our Zoom, and I'm ready to go on that one.
When somebody was commenting about the stadium, do we honor?
Interesting. We seem to vote against the main things that could actually generate revenue. It would help us to make better decisions and maybe get some of these things through if we knew what, not just the cost that it takes to build something, because that implies that that's the total cost. we need to understand what the total cost of ownership is. If we are generating revenue from some of these items, that really lessens the burden on everybody.
Put that, please, in a question, because that's something that we can, because we're going to go through the whole list next week of particularly
Again.
and the ones that appear to be closed anyway. Sherry and I will figure that out, but put that in as a question so we can have that information by next week.
But here's my question. If we vote that down, the new stadium, without all the details we need to make a more educated decision, are we going to still talk about that next week?
Yes.
Because I think that's what I'm struggling with.
Yes. Answer to that
I
is
think
yes.
that any additional information in the form of your questions or additional information we bring to the table, we owe it to that item to look again.
Well,
in answer to your question, Hope, the answer is yes.
Then I have to say very openly that if we're going to do that, okay, all those big bucket issues that we talked about just a little while ago, we ought to go revisiting all that, and we ought to see the cost justifications around all of that as well. Because you can't go halfway with this. You got to go all the way, and you got to sweep it all evenly through. It's just like changing the threshold for what is approved and not approved from 80 to 75%.
And the same thing needs to be said on the football stadium. I have a friend in some place in I don't know, Pearland or whatever, some other school district built a 10,000 seat football stadium that wasn't concrete. She said it was made out of aluminum, I don't know, high tensile steel, whatever it was, and it was about 50 grand, not 80 grand. Okay, so
Angleton,
maybe a better quote or a better option would help us make a decision. We probably would like to have the football stadium, but not at $88 million.
Dr. And I think we do need to talk about that $65 million that everybody's saying, because if we as a committee don't agree with that, we're not going to convince the voters to vote for this bond. So
you have to have
first of all, let me stop everybody.
Yeah.
We're still in the process. We still got another meeting, but we need to get through tonight to see where the committee is on these things.
And we understand you talking about the high ticket items. So are the ones that we group together or staff group together.
But
exterior improvements.
We'll work with staff
but we're going to work with them.
Yeah. I understand the staff group them together, and I see that the staff has what they determined to be a need. Okay, but we did not discuss and we did not vote on those big ticket items on an individualized basis. So our group, hold on, Ken, just for a second. As a group, you can't say that we all agree on everything that's in all those big ticket items. You just can't say that. Not without going through each of those particular ticketed items.
But what I would say, whoa, time out. I'm going to stop and shut. I would say with the large percentages that were expressed on those items, I would not say, we knew from the start 100% of everybody wasn't going to agree with everything. It never is that way. So those items, some of those items you're talking about, the external, they were large percentages of the committee that were in favor of that. So I don't think it was necessarily that basically, I'm telling you, a large majority of it was good with the list. So
we were good with the list that needs to be done, but we never had an opportunity to go line by line.
We are going to
move agreed forward. That we need to have exterior and interior improvements. Yes, but we did not get an opportunity to go line by line, and that is not transparent government.
Okay.
We're going to launch the poll right now for the current thoughts on the 3 items left in athletics.
Dr. Helvey, this is the district athletic director. Can I say one thing first?
No. We've got to move forward. We will have we'll have more time to discuss next week. But let's get through this first round so Sherry and I can get all the data together. We can all have a fresh mind, fresh data from staff, and then get our final list next week.
If something's about to be jettisoned before we hear from the district athletic director, I've got a problem with that. Now, if we're all still good, I mean, I hear you, Ken. I understand you have a process to
I mean, to
Here,
me,
but if the district athletic director
No.
says something, I'd like to hear that.
all right, I will.
Yeah, but people are already voting. That's not appropriate. People already voting.
That's true. Let's continue here. We've
Yeah.
only got 2 more areas to go, and I don't think there's much of those left.
Yeah, it can, I have to say, while everybody's voting, because I know we've got a minute here, I really don't think that we should go back and revisit things that have been rejected and look for a way to try and move them back to the yes column. Okay, if we as a committee have voted no, we have to accept that, unless we open the whole darn thing back up.
Well,
It's just inappropriate. It's inappropriate to do it.
Let me and Sherry worry about that.
Well, it'd be the same thing if you voted
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
We won't go back and look at item by item.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay.
So you can't,
anyway,
you can't have half a, you can't be half pregnant here. You're either all the way or none.
The issue with what you're saying is the 75% is an arbitrary number that they just used as a guideline. If something votes in double in favor, like it's actually double yeses versus nos, and you want to reject it because it didn't make their arbitrary 75%, makes no sense.
All right.
I understand.
Okay,
You don't
let's
have a dog in the
everybody
race.
stop the conversation. We're not getting anywhere productive. Let me share the results and give me a couple more minutes.
We hear you. I'm writing
Another minute.
notes.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm very glad to see the Terry practice pool is now on the list. So,
Yeah.
got those, Sherry?
Yeah, I got 53. Yes, I do.
Okay. All right, we're going to move forward.
We have nothing on transportation.
Nothing on transportation. Okay, and you're going to give me a second. What do we have left on other?
A lot. Just a second. Let me pull my notes up. On other, we have the first one, the event center.
Yeah.
We have the third one, the expansion.
Okay, gotcha.
Of 1621, yeah.
Right.
We have the police station.
Okay.
That's all, those 3.
All right, I need to take one item off. Hang on. Make sure my poll looks right.
Hey, Ken, can I ask a clarifying question on the police station? Just
Let me just give me a second to make sure I've got the right stuff up.
Okay.
Did we
Sherry,
add that?
Sherry,
Uh-huh.
Sherry, let me repeat. District
Okay.
Event Center.
Yes.
Expansion 1621 and police station.
Yes.
Gotcha. Okay. Go ahead now. Ask the question.
Now.
Okay, so right now, Rosenberg Police Department, they have, I guess, what you'd consider to be substations in each of our secondary campuses. So would we not be using those substations anymore? What is the thought process behind a centralized police station?
That contract with that Rosenberg Police Force is expiring and not renewing.
Right, but the facilities are our facilities. They are housed in our schools.
You need a central location for administration training. You got to have a central location.
And that's not something that could be accommodated at the existing administration building or the annex?
This is Dallas Ford. I'm the police chief for the school district. Let me just say that the district recently voted to start their own police department. We have a temporary offices that we are setting up in the administration building, but there is a need for their own facilities. They have their own infrastructure that needs for the agency.
Other comments? Remember, you got District Event Center, and I know there's questions on that, and the staff will work on that. But the initial, we're getting the initial reaction on the expansion of 1620 and the police station.
From the gentleman who just spoke to the district head of the police department for the district, I understand that you said that the board approved that they wanted to have a centralized location. They can go ahead and do that associated with it, but if they're asking us to then pay for it, that's two different topics. Those are independent.
Also, can I just say that for the expansion of 1621, the reason why that is being proposed is because there are currently only 3 classrooms in the new building, and we have 4 teachers. So we have a limited amount of students that we can serve across the district because there are only 3 classrooms.
Mm-hmm.
Melissa, what's the class size, and what do you think is the appropriate size for that facility?
Currently, it's at 15 students per class, and we would love to be able to serve more kids. We have a waiting list all year, but we just don't have the space.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Okay.
How big is the waiting list?
Did you say how long is the waiting list?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, how big is that waiting list?
How big?
So it's ongoing. Counselors can apply. They help students apply all year. I can say that we probably were not able to serve upwards of 30 additional students that were waiting because we had to graduate students to free up the space.
And you can't increase the class size from 15 to 20? I don't know much about that school and that facility.
So the students are working online through Edgenuity, and there's only 1 teacher in the classroom that's assisting in all different subjects in the classroom. And so you don't want to overwhelm that teacher who's facilitating instruction in all those different core subjects.
Good questions. Good answers.
Can you rotate different teachers in for different core subjects so that the teacher's not overtaxed and maybe other experts can come in and take up some of that pressure or some of that extra duty?
So interesting that you say that. This school year, we're actually getting a new teacher for next school year. So we will have an additional teacher there that's able to support. But in the new building that's being built, they're starting to break ground this week. There will still only be 3 classrooms, and I will have 4 teachers, but 3 classrooms.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
No problem.
All right, launching the poll.
Hold on.
Oh. We're holding.
No, it's up. Yeah.
Oh, it is. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's up.
Got it.
Wow, that came in fast. People must be ready. Okay, going to share results.
86-14.
47%, 86 on the expansion.
Yeah.
And 69% on the police station.
Okay.
Got it, Sherry?
Yeah, I do. I have it.
Okay.
Yeah,
oh, well done. I acknowledge that this is different. We're trying to make it as authentic as possible. I was there in 2017. Sherry and I, what's going to happen next is Sherry will and I will. First of all, I'll put all the data together so you can see everything in one page, and we will work on kind of our process for next steps. The clear direction is next week we have to have 2 things done. We have to have a recommendation of the committee, and we need to choose someone to present that recommendation to the board. Those are our 2 charges of the committee. So we will absolutely do that next week. So
and get all your questions answered.
Yeah, I think all the questions.
A lot in chat.
Yeah. So thank you.
When are the questions going to be addressed?
The staff will work on them this week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That didn't answer my question. I know they're going to work on them this week. I said, be able to have them in enough time to be able to review them prior to the next meeting to be able to discuss them is probably warranted because there are so many hot topics that are being asked during this meeting.
I can only assume that they will.
Yeah, I can just jump in on that real quick. This is Mike Rockwood. We always try to do our best to answer the questions as expeditiously as possible. Now we got a few questions, for example, today. Those were brought forward yesterday afternoon. We got on those as a team and got those back to you a day later. So we're not going to wait around. As soon as we get these from Ken tomorrow, we'll certainly try to expedite that so everyone has plenty of time to look at everything in advance of the next meeting.
Thank you, everybody. We really appreciate your time, diligence, and input, and we look forward to getting to this to the conclusion next week. So, bye all.
Have a good
Bye.
week.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.
Have a good week.
Yeah, y'all have a great week.